This evening's message is a consideration of the ritual cosmos and the myth of eternal return. Many of you have heard the hymn, "In the bulb there is a flower, in the seed an apple tree, in cocoons a hidden promise, a butterfly will soon be free. And even in this cold and snow of winter is a spring that waits to be, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see." There's a song in every silence, seeking word and melody. There's a dawn in every darkness, bringing hope to you and me. From the past will come the future, what it holds a mystery, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. In our end is our beginning. In our time, infinity. In our doubt, there is believing. In our life, eternity. In our death, a resurrection. At the last, a victory. Unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. This beautiful hymn, called the Hymn of Promise, from number 707 in our United Methodist hymnal, is a beautiful hymn about the ritual cosmos and the myth of the eternal return. What I mean to suggest by this is three things. First of all, we are people who believe in the resurrection. Many of us grew up saying the Apostles' Creed. And when we came to the end of that creed, there were a lot of curious statements there that many times made us ask questions. And one of the statements was, "I believe in the resurrection of the body. I believe in the Holy Spirit. I believe in the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the resurrection of the body, and life everlasting." These final curious words of the Apostles' Creed speak to us about resurrection. And they say that Christian people believe in resurrection. But I'm not so sure that we do. I think that we believe in the idea of believing in the resurrection. I think that we would like to suggest that we believe in the resurrection, but when it really comes down to it, I'm not so sure that we really do. And I want to encourage you, and I want to encourage myself, to take this promise of life more seriously. I pray that you might know what it means to embrace the resurrection. The second thing that I want to say about this is, in light of the resurrection, the fact that we believe that Jesus rose from the dead, we are resurrection people. And consequently, we see all of life, everything that we're about, as an opportunity for renewal, revival, and resurrection. I was born a United Methodist, and my first bishop was the first African-American bishop of the United Methodist Church. His name was Bishop Roy C. Nichols. And Bishop Nichols used to say that there were really only two things that Christianity was all about anyway, and that was rebirth and revival. Those were the two fundamental parts of what it means to be a Christian. Sometime early in my life, my dad served as the pastor at a little tiny church in Belleville, New York, which is just outside of course, the very large city of Warwick, New York. We served three churches at that time: Warwick, Belleville, and Sugarloaf. I can remember as a boy traveling with my mom to Sunday school at the Sugarloaf Church. We lived in Belleville near the Iron Forge Inn. We'd hop in the car and take about a 10-mile journey over to Sugarloaf. Maybe it wasn't even that long. We took back roads past farms, saw lots of animals, and smelled all of the smells of farming in the spring and in the summer. I had a wonderful childhood. One day when we were on our way to church, we saw this giant plume of smoke. And as we passed this one field, the field was covered in fire. There was a brush fire that year, and many of the farmers' fields were covered with fire. On our way home from church that day, they had extinguished the fire, and there lay the field. It was absolutely black. It was black as coal. And I thought to myself, what a desperate and terrible thing that was. It was extremely foreboding. As a 5 or 6 year old boy, I can remember that having made a big impression on me, the blackness of that burned ground. About 3 weeks later, we went back to Sunday school, and already green grass was beginning to grow in that place where the black was. And within a few weeks thereafter, toward the end of summer, that grass was the greenest grass that I had ever seen before. It just goes to show you that life is about rebirth, that the earth is about renewal, and that the paradigm that we live in is a myth of eternal return. Now that word myth gets a little tricky sometimes. People think that myth means a falsehood, something that's not true. But as I use it here, what I mean by a myth is an archetypal story, a story that establishes a paradigm or a context for our living. We live in a spirit of rebirth, revival, and resurrection. Let us remember that as Christian people. And that leads me to my final point, and that is that when we come to hard times such as those that we're facing now, we need to have the veracity of our faith within us to enable us to persevere and push through the difficult times, that indeed we can rise above them and accomplish all that God would have us accomplish. As we spoke of last week, if God is for us, who can be against us? The sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory about to be revealed. All things work together for good, for those who love God and who are called according to his purpose. It's all truth that we live in a world of ritual cosmos, and we live in the paradigm of the myth of the eternal return. Believe in the resurrection. Believe with faith in the hope of tomorrow. Indeed, you have reason to get up each new day.